name is Anish, and I'm also one of the co-founders of HealthPath Horizons, which, as you know, is a Boston-based group dedicated to empowering low-income students to pursue careers in healthcare. And so, what we're basically doing now is we're looking to interview people, so whether doctors or people really in medicine, to write up stories of their sort of real-life journeys entering the medical field. And so, we thought you'd be a great fit for one of these interviews. So I'm like a rising sophomore, like David, majoring in neuroscience and government, and so I'm also interested in sort of going into medicine, and I think a lot of our viewers will also be sort of interested in going to medicine. So that's sort of why we took the time to talk with you today, and thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. So sort of to begin with, could you share a bit of your background with us? We're sort of interested in learning about where you're from and the environment you grew up in, because we believe every journey into the medical field is sort of unique and valuable.
All right, thank you, Anisha. Nice meeting you. I'm glad to be here. Let me introduce myself a little bit. I originally come from China, and also I'm working in the Peking Uni Medical College Hospital, and I got my MD, PhD. And also I perform my residency training and be attending in that hospital, which is a top hospital in China. And in 1995, I came to the United States to start my postdoc training in SUNY Upstate, New York. Over there, I also finished my board exam and then get matched to the residency. So received actually a few years of residency training. And
Mhm.
then in 2006, I came to MGH. Currently, I'm the anesthesiologist attending in MGH, Department of Anesthesia, Critical Care, and Pain Management. And also I'm the associate professor at Harvard Medical School. So I kind of know both of systems, both in China and the United States, because I get trained in both of systems. And also during my time at MGH, I've been supervised residents teaching Harvard Medical students and training a lot of fellows. And my main work is on the anesthesia, including orthopedic surgeries, um, acute pain management, uh, OB, anesthesia, and general anesthesia, and also IVF. Pretty much a variable for that. So that experience gave me a pretty good experience for first knowing the different systems and knowing how to train the trainees and how to deal with that. And hopefully, my experience can make some contribution to your group.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. And so, sort of like to since you have sort of such a long medical career in both in China and the U.S., sort of at the start point, how did you sort of get interested in medicine? Was there sort of like a certain point where you realized that this is something that you want to spend your lifetime doing?
Well, this is a very good questions. I think you're not the first people to ask me this. And also sometimes ask myself and why I like to be a doctor. So actually, I can tell you the truth. At the beginning, in my generations, I do not have any choice. So it's not my wish to be a doctor because at that time, uh, I totally did not have any idea. My parents helped me to pick up that career, which I love it. Definitely, this is the right thing for me, and I think I was born for medicine. But now, new generations also different thought. A lot of people they have a lot of options. Still, some friends and parents can give some impact, let them to do the medicine. But I'm glad they have their own thought. Eventually, find out, oh, I like to be a doctor. I like to be an engineer. I have the software, whatever. So that's their choice. But no matter what you're gonna do, you should understand what's the field you will actually involved for your whole life. But in case you like this career and eventually you change your mind, of course, chances everywhere. So what I think your organizations are, my experience, my job here now, is help people to pursue their goal and help them to build up their foundations and whatever they like. So I think hopefully our piece of advice is going to help.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, sort of like on a similar note, um, how did you sort of get interested in specifically anesthesiology and sort of critical pain management? Was that sort of something you developed in medical school, or is this something you sort of walked in knowing that's something you want to sort of work on?
So again, when I started my medicine career in China, I was not an anesthesiologist. So I was internal medicine. Eventually, I got a special training and be a gastroenterologist. So
Mhm.
it's a totally different field. And then after I came to the United States, I did some research work related to the cancer and eventually related to some anesthesia, whatever. And then I started finding that anesthesiologist definitely is a thing I like because it covered everything from head to toes, right? Internal medicine, surgery, interventional, GI, IVF, pediatric, OB, you cover everything. So that's what I really like. And also, I think we might have a lot of procedures to do, not like surgeon do it every day, but also we have wearable procedures to do. And that gives you a lot of freedom, a lot of choice. And eventually, even in the field of anesthesiologists, you still have some different field to pick up, like orthopedics or acute pain, chronic pain, ICU, pediatric, OB. So that's also your specialties. You may choose to do that. So that means give you more choice. Um, and before I came to the anesthesia residency training, I spent 1 year as a surgery intern, which I did 1 year of surgeon. I do like it, but eventually I think the anesthesiologist can give you more freedom, let you to go. And also, if you not only satisfied with the clinical work, but also you can do some lot of work, research. For the research, again, any topics should be covered by anesthesia. You can do very basic and a clinical research. So anyway, a lot of choice. So that's the thing I think anesthesia is my life.
Yeah. And since you had to make that transition from China to US with two very different healthcare systems, what do you think was sort of the hardest part about sort of getting to sort of where you are now?
I think from my generation is a little bit difficult because we get the training or education or we familiar with the system in China at the time. And when I switched to the United States, different system, especially for different residency training, I feel huge difference. Uh, but for your generation, you may not have that kind of things. But I like to share my experience. For example, when I was resident in China, we do not have a very formal resident training at that time. Now they do. And what we do that is we just spent one intern year before I graduated from medical school. And then in the first day after I graduated, I'm a doctor, former doctor, and I do every kind of work we're supposed to be. So at the time I was only 21, maybe less 21. And now I think that is so scary, but we do have a lot of experience. We do have a lot of senior attendings or residents showed us, guide us. Even we do not go like formal training model, but I think during the practice, we grew up pretty well, and I gained a lot of experience. And after I get back to transfer to United States, and eventually I like to go back to medicine and pass the board, get it matched, start my residency again. I did feel totally different. First of all, language is a big challenge for me. Maybe it's not a big deal for you guys. And culture, and also not the social culture, is academic culture. So the way we treat patient is totally different. And for example, when I just answer some questions like, how do you release this kind of information? I go by my experience in China, and the answer is always wrong. And I never figure out why it is different. So this is a cultures which I missed, right? It's hard to
Yeah.
catch up. So, but during this time, I think I will catch up slowly, but eventually. And even have a culture barrier, language barrier. But still, after training, I think so my training in China helps me a lot, especially in PUMC hospital. The example is that is sometimes when I deal with the tough patients, language slow me down, culture maybe gives them a little trouble, but based on my experience, I can immediately reach out what's going on with this patient and immediately bring out my thought. And even my seniors kind of surprised, so, why you think that way? I said, I don't know why. It's my experience. It's my muscle memory. So that means wherever you get trained, that experience stays with you, and even you didn't realize that, and someday it pops up. So then the one proper things to prove my accomplishment, that is, at the last year of the residency, you know, chief resident is an honor, and it's hard to get it. And also
Yeah.
not only nominated by the faculties, but also voted by the co-workers, co-residents. And surprisingly, I was voted as the chief resident. So a lot of people ask me, so your language is not as good as ours. So your experience is, kind of it gets embarrassed compare American-born physicians. Why you can be a chief resident? Right? So I think it doesn't matter. Your memory, your experience, your motivations, your passions, your efforts, that gonna make you excellent person.
Yeah.
Eventually, I do believe that even now I'm in MGH, I deal with a lot of excellent grads.
Hmm.
It's very compatible to be a residency here. But when I work with them every day, I learn from them too, and I'm sure they learn from me. And this is a good experience. Let me make me think that one how can be a excellent physicians and outstanding students. So based on this one, I think I can better to share my experience and teach all the trainees.
Yes, I think that totally makes sense, and I definitely agree that a lot of these students will definitely be learning from you. Whether in the lab or in the hospital or from these interviews. And sort of on a more positive note compared to the previous question, um, do you think there might have been like a sort of, or do you think there has been sort of a fulfilling moment, or what do you think has been the most meaningful part of sort of being, a doctor?
So I think the one thing that is no matter you're smart or you good at a field at, passion is the key. I even see a lot of kids be pushed by their families or parents or friends. You need to be a doctor. Doctor is going to get a lot of good things. Well, if you do not have that, your own passion, I don't think you can make it. You can make it be a doctor, but I don't think you can make the excellent doctor. So you definitely need a passion. And of course, with passion, you need to know how to do that. After you set that goal, how do you proceed? So during this time, of course, you need a lot of helps.
Yeah.
Uh, one thing that at the beginning, I think your organization is definitely a good one to help them to start with that. So I think that's key.
Yeah, and so moving towards more like sort of specific questions, sort of about healthcare in general. Could you sort of explain, the different types of specialties at least you work with that exist in the healthcare system? And so some of the people, like for example, like nurses, that you might be working with.
I do think that the be a good physician, not only you should have a solid knowledge base, passion, but also you really have to be good at communications because when we work, we're not work alone. We work a team. You not only work with your co-physicians, also the surgical team, the nurse team, the patients. So communication is super important. So that part may not be learned from school, right? There's no such a school to teach you how to talk, right? So that part of things can come from your working, your experience. Just put more attention about that and do more training of the communications is a key thing to go. In terms of these different field, different specialties, it totally depends on individuals. If you really like to do this one too, go ahead. Everything's fine. You can be excellent in that field. Doesn't matter. Surgeon is good, anesthesiologist is good, or internal medicine is good. All are good. Depends on how you like it. And the good thing that is during these rotations or during all the exposure to different environment, you do have the chance to feel that environment and put your foot on the floor and see which part is you feel most comfortable, which part you think you're going to spend your whole life on, right? If you're not sure, you can switch all the time, right? So we do have some residents who've been trained as a surgeon, and eventually, oh, I think I like to be an anesthesiologist. Come back to training again and get it all the time. Or my colleagues can be like at the beginning, he graduated from MIT, find a very good job, engineering job in Boeing, and suddenly I like to be a doctor. Okay, he came back to the medical school, even started residency like 40 years old. Eventually, he's a very successful doctor, and I'm sure that first half of the experience also treasure for him. I also help him to be a good doctor. So
Yeah.
any kind of piece of experience is never waste. Always help you to reach your goal, and you can shift these things all the time. As long as you feel passion on that, do it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And how would you sort of advise, aspiring students to explore a job they want to go in? So whether it's just, a specific specialty, as a doctor, but maybe also as, like nurses or physician assistants or, so sort of other sort of key points in the healthcare system.
Okay, so I do meet a lot of people who has different kind of thoughts and different goals. The key thing is I never push them. I never push them or force them to go this, go that, be there too. What I'm going to do that is always encourage them to think, to compare, to feel by themselves. And what I can do that is I can share my experience, share my thought, and tell the stories, tell the experience, how we're going to go with that, and let you pick. I never sell something to you, and I go say, here is like this, here is like that, and what do you think? And of course, people just like to like buy something. You need to understand more details. My job is to provide all the information I can and let you go. Or if you still cannot make your decisions, okay, come in, just talk to people and see how it goes, see if you like it or not, right? So and doing that way, so people say, yes, this is my dream place. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood this one too. Maybe that is my home. So I think it's give more freedom, let them to pick. So we can provide any chance for them.
So what is sort of like your daily lifestyle like? So like I sort of as an anesthesiologist, do you get much free time? And sort of if you do get free time, sort of what do you like to do in your free time? And does this sort of differ between like different types of medical specialties?
One word, busy. So which I like busy. So busy means your schedule pretty full. At the beginning, so I can tell you what's my typical day. Because I'm living a little far from hospital, every day, every morning deal with the heavy traffic. I hate that. So I usually come up pretty early. I hit the road at 5 o'clock in the morning. So then traffic's still there, but takes me about 30 minutes getting to hospital, like 5:30. And then usually we start a case like 7. Residents might start to prepare the room even early, like 6 or 6:30. So I do have some free time. I'm glad I'm not a resident anymore at the time. So I go to gym next to the hospital. I do exercise, run, and swim. This is a very nice gym there. So this is the only chance I can exercise. And then take a shower and then come to work. So it's 7. And then, of course, my resident already prepared a room. We're going to start seeing the patient and induce. And usually our patients are very sick. You really need to focus on because usually the day before and the night, we also spend 30 minutes, sometimes longer time with residents to talk about the plan and how can we prepare, what kind of anesthesia plan we're going to do, how sick the patient is, this kind of thing preparation because we do not have time to talk in the morning time. Of course,
Yeah.
this can be changed anyway. So we already know this patient everything, and we start seeing the patient and see anything we can change or make it better. And we meet patients, meet patient's family, and meet the surgical team and nurse team. And we huddled and finalize all the plans and try to get the best plan for the patient and start the case. During the case, usually very intense. So we got to watch the patient very closely, and we have to really make all plans based on how the patient's changed. And one by one, right? After finish one case, move on next. So it's pretty intense. Usually, I cover 2 rooms with the residents. We take care of patient, but also we also teach resident. bring out some topic. If we slow down, we pick up topic and discuss, and try to let the resident learn something they cannot learn from book, or
Yeah.
we can just talk all the things we're interested. And then we do have I know residents pretty tired, working so hard. We give them 15 minutes break in the morning time, 15 minutes break in afternoon time, and 30 minutes in noon time for lunch. That's what we're going to try to give. So, but occasionally, a resident could not get any breaks. Me either, because when we get very tense, sick patients, we get all involved. We forgot we don't feel hungry, and suddenly we found, oh my gosh, it's almost 5 o'clock, right? So this
Yeah.
is, but and also we also need to help each other. For example, my rooms may be pretty safe, all everything's went very well, but my colleagues suddenly has some crisis and cold. We have to rush in to help out, right? So this is a teamwork. So day goes by quick, and we feel busy. And at the end of the day, when I change my scrub, so usually I take a shower before I go, sit in the car, sit in the traffic, I feel exhausted, but satisfied, right? So this day passed very quick. Sometimes I no time to eat. I always give somebody breaks and don't feel hungry. Only when I go home, oh my gosh, I just paralyzed. Um, the worst part is to deal with the traffic, get it too. But anyway, when you go through the day, busy, but I think we're uh, definitely spend a day very nicely. We make
Mhm.
difference. We save lives. We teach our residents. You feel that it's worth it to spend this day.
Yeah. And sort of related, how do you sort of balance, the many things you're doing? So you obviously your medical practice, the research, family life, and amongst other things that you have sort of in your busy life. Um, how are you able to sort of strike that balance if there is a balance?
Yeah, it is hard to balance. I know, as you know, that the typical day is pretty occupied in my every cells, every moment. I really cannot do anything but sleep, right? But still, you do have some mind. Don't want to waste to think about that too. The reason I like to stay in academic hospital like a MGH rather than to go a private group and make more money, easy life. Uh, of course, people like to do that. This is fine. For me, since I do have many years of research, I really want to think something. For example, when you work with people, with a patient, find some problems, you need to find out that one. How can I avoid that one? For example, postpartum depression or post-op delirium. It's kind of related to your medication or something else. You need to know why. So those answers cannot be provided by the basic research, right? You could do some rats, very good one, but still, you need some data close to the clinic. So that's give you some concept of clinical research. So my job now is focused on clinical research, not the basic. For example, now we do have the opioid crisis. So the
Mhm.
practice of that is how can you do a good anesthesia with less opioid, with less side effect, right? So based on this, I designed a lot of studies, retrospect, prospect, and to see which way is better. We can use opioid sparing anesthesia versus opioid zero anesthesia, and then we recruit certain numbers of patients and check their outcomes, see how's pain difference, what's the side effect difference, and then we can make a conclusion. Yes, use opioid sparing better than full opioid treatment or better than opioid zero. See, that gonna make some guidance, and also I do some work to eventually make some guideline, so
Mhm.
help people to do that way. So this part of research is very important. This is what I'm going to do. Of course, I have limited time, but when I do practice, those research in my mind, and I can do the same thing, and also spend the rest of my time when I go home in the post call day. I just work on that one too. There's another one is I do have a good team. I do have excellent residents, medical students, and co-workers. They also can help be a team to do so. So even busy, but I think it's pretty good. And I really enjoy my clinical care on the patients. I also enjoy my clinical research study.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And how does you sort of get involved in, sort of research, like clinical research and also basic research? And what made you sort of continue it, throughout your career?
So there's also teamwork. First of all, you needed to bring some idea, like opioid crisis. You need to find out which part you need to study, right? So when you set up this one, this question is you need to solve the problems. Then you can set up your team. As I said, I do have good coworkers, good medical students and residents, and brought up this one. So he who's interested about this one, okay, let's make a team and do it. And the important thing that is support, support from your department, your hospital, encouraging you. And our department has a unique mechanism which we call the Anesthesia Research Consult, ARC, ARC. So those teams also be there as long as you have your idea, your protocol being approved by RIB, and you lack of time to do the paperwork, lack of time to collect data, lack of time to do something else, those teams can help you out, right? So just save your time, support you very well, and we're not good at everything like a statisticians. After you get all data, so those people can help you to do this part of work. And even when you write a good paper, and they can polish your paper and help you submit it. So
Mm.
from idea until the publications, a lot of team members can help you out. So with these systems, definitely can make your dream comes true. So they also encourage it.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
that,
makes
that's why I like to stay here in this environment and to make me, feel pretty useful.
yeah. And sort of my final question, what made you sort of gain confidence that you're pursuing, the right career? And sort of what advice would you give to students, for example, people who come from, disadvantaged backgrounds who may be interested in a career in medicine, but don't necessarily have the confidence or who think it's like unrealistic to pursue?
Okay, so that's the key thing. So before you presume your thing, you want to be something, some person, you need to know what kind of person you want to be, right? So again, you have passion, you have to interest, and see that if you really like it. So doesn't mean every people in the group or doing this one will be fall in love in this field. They might be better fit other field, right? Never be wrong, but the thing that is how can you uh, grow up your with your interest on this field. You need to see, you need to know, you need to taste. So for example, some people just say, oh, the show or Greece show is so cool, right? So let's go to the hospital, see how's that. It's totally different, right? And then you may be very disappointed. It's not like the beautiful girls, boys in the ORs and chatting, like that. Well, it's not the life I like to go, right? Fine, you can find your place. Or people come over here too. Yes, I do enjoy that too. Or they do a surgery, very cool. But when you see the real bloody things, you faint, you pass out, right? Totally depends. But anyway, just like the kids grow up, who knows what kind of thing's going to be? Maybe you're president of the United States, right, in the future, or astronauts, or just a very common person do your job you like. Doesn't matter. Interesting is important things, and then do what you're interested to do. What we can help them at is provide anything, let them feel, and let them to taste. So I think that's the thing we should do.
Thank you for sort of taking the time. These are really sort of detailed answers, and I learned a lot myself.